I just got back from MFF 2021, and let's talk about fursuiting in the age of COVID. If you don't know, MFF is the world's largest furry convention located in Rosemont, Chicago. It's right in the center of the country. It's basically the huge furry pilgrimage that happens once a year where pretty much everyone gets together. You have artists, you have dealers, you have fursuit makers, you have basically the entire fandom in one spot for one weekend. It ends up being kind of a huge party. Let's talk about more specifically how COVID made this year's convention pretty darn interesting. Now, in order to attend MFF, you had to abide by the COVID rules. And just to briefly run over what those were is, one, you must be vaccinated, so you had to show proof of vaccination just to even do anything in the convention. Two, you must have a mask on if you're anywhere in the con space, like the cotton masks. And three, more controversially, that applied to fursuiters as well. So if you're a fursuiter, if you're fursuiting around, according to the rules, you're supposed to have a mask under your fursuit head. Now, they explicitly mentioned that you couldn't use a thin lycra material or a neck gaiter or a balaclava, and the reason why that rule is in place is because the research at that time showed that these materials actually help spread COVID because the thin meshness of them aerosolized your saliva, I guess. So that's why that caveat's there. Whether or not these rules were followed all the way or very effective is actually kind of a different story. But I think, at least from my perspective, all the rules that they have are in place because of the research, the local laws, and they all make pretty good sense. Now, I did mention that these rules weren't always followed. One kind of big notable exception, at least from my personal experience being there, in the headless lounge where all the fursuiters take a break and take their heads off and get some water and stuff, it seemed to be about 50-50 on whether or not people were wearing a mask under their head. This kind of makes sense to me. If you haven't tried it already, just try putting on a balaclava, which is by far the most common headgear worn under a fursuit, a mask, as the rules clearly state, and then putting that all under a fursuit head. It's super uncomfortable. It's very, very hot. The airflow of the mask, because there is a loss of airflow, is blocked because of the fursuit head, which is the main way that hot air escapes your fursuit head. It's by far the biggest ventilation in the head, so it makes your head get super hot super quick. It honestly made sense why so few fursuit makers were actually trying to wear a mask, though shout out to the ones that did because it's really hard. It's kind of a lose-lose scenario. MFF needs to follow the rules, and the rules state that people must be wearing masks. That's the law, they can't really change that. And then fursuiters are trying just not to be super hot and make fursuiting actually kind of doable. It's kind of a lose-lose scenario, really. This year, because of COVID, MFF was a bit smaller, but I still feel like they did a really good job for what they had. Starting off, there was Reg, and I feel like this is by far the best they've ever done it. MFF in the past, especially in the last couple years, like in 2019, 2018, right around there, their MFF line, the Reg lines were notorious for just being hours and hours and hours long, where the machines that would get you the badge would always clog up, and it was a huge pain in the butt. This year, though, they switched it to, it's just print on a band. You literally walk up there, show them the proof that you paid, and then your photo ID so they can prove it's you, and then they just print you the badge and hand it to you. It's by far the fastest they've ever had it, and it's honestly a huge improvement. Reg is really easy for how large of a con this was. Because so many different groups of people go to MFF, and because it is kind of this big hyped event at the end of the year, there are a lot of parties at this convention. It's notorious as one of the best party conventions out there. Every group you can think of has group get-togethers. There's always people drinking together. It's just a really good time. If you want to meet really cool artists, they all hang out. There's the animators in the fandom. They're doing their thing. The photographers are all having a good time. It just has a really good energy for just creative making stuff. And if you like art and stuff and the furry fandom, it's a great place to meet new people. Because MFF is so hyped up and it's kind of this big exciting event, you really do see the best of the furry fandom. MFF is notorious as the best dealer's den because it's just so crazy packed and there's so much going on. It's if you've never been in the dealer's den at MFF, it's by far the biggest. Most cons will have a fairly small one of 2 or 3 long rows of booths. But MFF seriously a mega hall space just full of tables. Everything you can think of, you can probably buy there. They have every major artist, all the fursuit suppliers. It'd be a fun YouTube channel challenge to do. Can you make an entire fursuit at MFF using only stuff you buy at MFF? I don't know if it'd be possible, but it'd be a fun idea. It's really cool. If you like buying books, merch, stuff, it's everywhere. Everything you think of. The Artist Alley this year for MFF though was a bit lackluster, and I feel like it's fair to chalk this up to COVID. I don't know how you'd want to sit in a big room full of people constantly all day just for art commissions, especially when you can do that online without any sort of risk. So it was like a third full to what it normally is, and usually the Artist Alley is one of the coolest parts of the con, but okay, no big deal. It's still just a really cool thing to like pop in there every once in a while and see what people are making and get a badge or whatever. It's a cool thing. This is kind of a side point. At MFF, while fursuiting around, I did something that is a kind of a real treat that if you're a fursuit maker, you have to try. If you've ever tried fursuit swapping, and that's where you take your fursuit and a friend that's about your same like physical size and swap fursuits as them and then go out together. The idea is that your friends will be constantly confused on who's actually in who, and you'll get really interesting experiences where random, complete strangers will walk up to you and treat you like their longtime friend that they haven't seen in literally a year. It's a really surreal experience that you can't really get in any other way. The inanimability of a fursuit and the fact that so many people recognize these characters provides like this really weird like imposter syndrome, like the video game where you walk around as a totally different character and random people walk up to you. It's really fun. If you haven't tried that already, it's a really good time, and we were doing that quite a bit at Megaplex. It's fun. If you saw me in fursuit at Megaplex, there's like a 50% chance it probably actually wasn't me, so I'm sorry, not sorry. And then here's another kind of like a quick fursuiting tip. If when you're traveling to these big conventions like MFF and stuff and you're flying with a fursuit, look up vacuum bags. You can buy off Amazon for like 15 bucks. They come with a little hand pump so you can like suck all the air out of them, both at the con and in your own house without having to have like a vacuum. And they can really make fursuit packing it's not easy because you still have to do a bunch of work, but it'll save a ton of room in your bags and just make the whole process a bit easier. I use it to pack a huge plus chute and a full full suit, and my other full suit, and that's a lot of stuff, especially taco, and I'm able to fit all of that in just 2 bags. Now, I know what you're thinking. You want to go to this convention? It sounds like a really good time. It sounds like a blast. What's going on with the hotel situation? MFF's hotel is actually a pretty unique situation. Whereas most conventions normally just are located in like one hotel, like FWA is located in one hotel downtown, MFF is more a series of hotels all connected to the convention center. The main hotel is the Hyatt Regency, and basically everything is connected to that. And then from there, you have the convention center, and then from the convention center, you have a bunch of the smaller hotels attached to it, and there are a few hotels even that you can get to by shuttle. And this is all happening because the main hotel fills up in like 2 seconds, and it's usually where everyone wants to be. It's where all the parties are, it's where all the fursuiters hang out. It's usually like the place to be at this convention. I want to do a quick tier list talking about these hotels because some of these hotels are not anywhere near as good as the other ones. Right off the bat, we're doing the Hyatt Regency, absolute S tier. If this is the one everyone wants to be in, it's a big thing every single year. There's drama about who gets in, who doesn't. It's the place to be. I almost talk about this convention being 2 different conventions entirely, where if you're in the main hotel, this is honestly the best convention out there, and if you're not in the main hotel, it's like an average con. Not being in the main hotel at this convention really does kind of suck. The next closest one you have is like Hilton, and this is connected right to the convention center. And honest to goodness, it's a pretty decent hotel. It's not bad. You're close enough where it's still pretty easy to walk in fursuit because you just walk down the sky tunnel, which, by the way, that sky tunnel is real hot in the winter. I don't know why they make it so crazy hot, but walking that walk in fursuit is actually pretty miserable. And on the flip side, I know what you're thinking, but waffles, it's really cold outside in Chicago. You can just walk outside and it's really nice and you're in fursuit and it's actually a great time. But haha, it's almost always snowing, it's almost always raining. This year in particular, I was watching some fursuiters walk across the street right before it just started dumping rain. I felt so bad for those guys just like walking to their hotel while it's like just pouring rain on top of them. Like, you don't want to fly home with like a soaking wet fursuit in like a bag. Oh, that would not be fun. So it ends up being that everyone wants to be in the sky bridge connecting the 2 buildings, and you don't have to worry about your paws or anything like that. Now, next up, connecting to the Hilton, you have 3 other hotels, and they are the Embassy Suites, the DoubleTree, and the Crown Plaza, and basically they're all just still connected to the same sky bridge, but now you have to go all the way to the end, then to the convention center, then through the convention center, and then to the main hotel. So they suck. Look, it's not good, but it's doable. I've been in, I think, all 3 of these hotels. In fact, I think I've been to every hotel on this list at least one time. There's a very clear tier list, because at the very bottom you have like the Comfort Inn, which I've actually stayed in. It just has a shuttle going from the Comfort Inn to the main hotel. It's affordable, it's cheap. It's not a good time. Just room with someone else. If you can find roommates, do that. The Comfort Inn's not good. Same thing with some of the other connected hotels via shuttle. The shuttle experience just makes the whole process a pain in the butt. MFF, like I said before, is basically two different conventions. If you're in the main hotel, MFF is legit the best convention in town. And then if you're not, it's okay. The further you are away, especially if you're a big fursuiter, it can really kind of suck actually. You're gonna get your fursuit paws dirty, you're gonna do a ton of walking. But if you wanna go, it's unfortunately all you can do sometimes because the main hotel fills up so fast. And just to reiterate, one of the best reasons why MFF is such a good con is because it's so centrally located. It allows you to have tons of different groups of friends all just kind of collide together, and then you're just like trapped in the wake of all these different mutual friends meet each other for the first time. Like you have a ton of friends in like Florida and tons of friends in like Washington State, and then you're like, wow, some of these people here know each other that like now you're in a room party together and you have mutuals meeting mutuals and you're meeting friends of friends, and it's just a really good time. It's one of the reasons why Fursuiting at MFF is so much better than I think a lot of other conventions, just because it's just so dense of different people there. Total side point, because this is the first in-person convention that a lot of people have gone to, there were a lot of new suits there. There are a lot of really good like first con appearance suits at this convention that have been sitting around on like people's shelves for like 2 years while COVID has made all these conventions closed. It was a really cool experience to see so many new fursuits. Finally, to cap it off, MFF has, I think, the best set of DJs out there. This year in particular, I thought the music was very well done. The DJ selection at MFF is always a bit controversial about who gets selected, who doesn't, but they usually do always very good picks. The guys that run it, I think, are very stand-up kind of people. The conventions just run really well. The dance in particular always has a really unique energy. It's probably the closest you can get to like VR chat in real life. We'll be walking around in like a ratio of like literally like 50 like normal people, and I say normal in like the broadest sense, and then there are like 50% of people just wearing like total fursuits. So it's like this crazy experience with the colored lights and the cool music and like these giant animals just like walking around and all crazy. It's really fun if you've never been. I think all in all, MFF was a really good convention. I think they did the best of the situations they had. The COVID rules are a bit weird at times, and I don't think the mask one for fursuiters was particularly effective, though probably backed by laws and research, so that makes sense. They're doing the best of what they can with what they got, and I appreciate them for doing that at least, because I don't think the online cons were anywhere near the same as the in-person conventions themselves. And most importantly, because MFF did require everyone to have a vaccine and proof of that at the very beginning of the convention, I do feel pretty safe, and I do like the risks themselves were fairly low overall. You have to give it up to the guys that run this convention. It was a pretty good job. The next video we make, we'll be talking about this guy back here, where we're gonna finally start putting fur on our bodysuit. That's the kind of big long-term project this channel's been following, where every episode we'll be making a literal fursuit from scratch. Go check it out if you haven't already. And then I have a bunch of ideas for other really cool kind of side video projects too. YouTube is really fun in that regard, where I feel like you can try a bunch of dual projects. So if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. You guys have the whole 9 yards. Thank you so much. I'll be doing plenty of cool stuff in the future. Thank you.